Hi guys! Okay, so this is my third attempt at trying to film this video. I think that is the God's way of telling me, Arlene, get to the point. I wanted to tell you my story, but I'm gonna try to make it as brief as I possibly can because I can go on and on. If you don't know me, my name is Arlene. I'm a single mom, 40 years old, and a homeowner in Miami, Florida, one of the most expensive cities in the country if you look at the numbers when you compare it to income. So cost of living versus income. New York's expensive, California's expensive, but Miami's expensive, and we don't make as much money as New Yorkers or Californians. With all that said, let's see if I can condense this. I've been interrupted 3 times. First by my cat, 2 times because my battery gave out. I have it plugged in. Let's hope that this time it works. So when I was 21 years old, you're gonna have to probably look back at the video that I made right before this so that you can kind of like have a gist. I was desperate to be married and be in a traditional life role, right? And I think part of the reason why I wanted that is because I wanted that feeling of safety and security of knowing that someone has my back. By someone, I mean a man, right? My parents got divorced when I was 7, so I think it's safe to say that there were some daddy issues there. He wasn't as emotionally involved in my life, so I guess I really craved, having that kind of connection. But I also was a very shy, quiet kid, so it was very hard for me to like meet guys, meet people, meet friends. So I also felt like I didn't fit in very much with the crowd that I grew up with. Being in Miami, if you're my age, about a millennial or so, you're most likely the product of immigrant parents. Parents who probably came when they were young, in their 20s or in their teens. There's my cat again, starting trouble. Let's hope he doesn't interrupt. And so I just didn't feel like I can connect very well with the kids that I was growing up with. Just the things that they were into, there was just a lack of depth and lack of uniqueness. And what I was looking for, I feel like when we're looking for someone, or what we base our attraction on tends to be on something that we want in ourselves, but yet we feel is missing. Because what I've noticed in my life as I've gotten older is that what I'm attracted to has evolved and changed with each passing phase of my life. So I met this guy who was about 8 years older than me, 7 or 8 years older than me, and he had been to college, and he was into like cool music, like rock and roll, old school music, not like the stuff you were hearing on the radio. And he was just cool and unique and just very interesting, very confident. And these were all the things that I lacked. I felt like I didn't have the exposure to the world that I thought I could have had, and I wanted, someone who was popular and had friends and had confidence and had this personality. And secretly, I think when we're attracted to certain things, it's because it's what we want in ourselves, right? Or what we see in ourselves, but we haven't fully lived up to the potential of it. And so I was 21, I didn't know anything about anything. And we think that we all know exactly what we're doing and what we're getting into and what life is about, but we really don't know crap. So we dated for about 2 years. Did I see some red flags within the first 6 months? Yes, I did. Did I know that they were red flags at the time? No, I did not. So I ignored them, and I thought, well, if he yelled at me, it must be because I did something wrong. Because that's how you grow up, right? Your parents yelled at you when you did something wrong. So it must have been me. I did something wrong. And the relationship was very much like a parent-child sort of dynamic, even though this was supposed to be my boyfriend. And yet it was oddly comforting because I'm like, well, maybe I can get, and all this is subconscious, maybe I can get from him what I didn't get from my parents that I needed. So of course I'm gonna have to take the bad with the good. I'm gonna have to take the punishment if I want the security, right? Little did I know this would never lead to anything secure whatsoever, and that I would eventually find my own sense of security, my own sense of confidence. But sometimes you gotta go through these tough lessons in order to get to where you wanna be. So we dated for about 2 years. I really wanted to be married. I kept hinting at it and looking at rings online and all this stuff. And next thing I knew, he popped the question, and I had a ring on my finger, and there was a moment of doubt. There was a moment alone in my mom's house taking a shower, and I looked at my hand and I saw the ring, and it was a beautiful ring, and I thought, do I really want to marry this guy? And it wasn't long, maybe about 3 months later, that I was 10 days late for my period. And I thought, this has happened to me before. I've had my period be 10 days late before because of a lot of stress. and it only happened once before. So I'm like, how could this be happening again? That's very strange. So I ignored it for a little bit, but I decided to take a home pregnancy test, and of course, as you are all already imagining, I was indeed pregnant. And so that question that I had in the back of my mind, is this the guy that I want to marry? I feel like that was the God's way of answering the question. Yes, this is what's meant to be. This is what's fated, because you are having a baby. And I always imagined that the day that I would find out I was pregnant, I would freak out or be very scared. But for some reason, I felt kind of like, okay. Like, I felt prepared for it. Like, I almost felt happy and thrilled and excited, even though I was terrified because we weren't married yet. And so I knew that, you know, the wedding that I wanted wasn't going to happen. So we hurried up and just did planned a quick, you know, wedding within 2 months. It was still lovely and beautiful, but it was very simple and to the point. But there was no legal marriage. There was no documents signed. My last name was not changed, and we were never legally husband and wife. And the reason is because back in this time, we're talking like 2003, health insurance was different. There was no Affordable Care Act. There was no Obamacare. So there was such a thing as pre-existing conditions, which now is considered illegal. You can't reject someone because of a pre-existing condition, but back then you could. So if you didn't have insurance through an employer or through a parent or through a spouse, and you were trying to get your own health insurance, you couldn't have any pre-existing condition. And being pregnant was considered that. So I had insurance, health insurance, via my mother. I was 23 at the time, but at that time, legally, your parents can have parents can have their children under their insurance policy until they're 26 years of age. So I wasn't legally married, and I was under my mom's insurance plan, and I had a doctor, and he was great. He was a GYN, but he was also an OB. So since I was pregnant, I'm like, this is gonna be my doctor, this is gonna be my hospital. Everything was like already set up in my mind, and I didn't want that to change. I didn't know who would take care of me, where I would give birth. So if I legally got married to this guy, what if the insurance company finds out and it's insurance fraud because now I'm someone's wife? But he had no benefits from work either. He didn't even have a stable job, let's put it that way. He was a realtor trying to become a successful realtor, but also very young, 28 years old, fresh out of college, and hadn't really made his life yet. So I said, let's hold off because I don't want to lose these benefits. This is important. And so we had our ceremony and we moved into an apartment. And this is where I noticed that I made a mistake, and I felt guilty now because I had a child on the way, and I felt like, well, I have to stick it out. I have to stick it out, and I have to make this work somehow. I have to work with him. I have to work with this, what I have to work with, because we have a child coming, and there's no way that I'm going to be a single mom to a newborn infant and have to give my child to him for custody sharing. I just don't see how I'm going to be able to do that. So we were shopping around for an apartment. He didn't want to rent. He didn't see the value in renting. There was a lot of things about him that made a lot of sense that I was very drawn to. There was a lot of, financial intelligence and things like that. But there wasn't a lot of, consideration. So we found this apartment, and it was great. It was on the first floor, which is what I wanted because we were gonna have a baby and a stroller, and we're gonna be bringing in groceries, and there was 2 parking spots right behind it at our balcony, and it was just perfect. Everything we had seen was such a mess, and this was pretty good, except it didn't have flooring. It had carpet, but that's okay. We were gonna fix that. So I'm thinking, this is great. My credit is great. I have $15,000 in savings because when I was 18 years old, I graduated high school, I got a job, and I signed myself up for college, and I would pay for my college courses. I didn't qualify for any kind of scholarships or any, financial aid because my father made too much, yet my father really wasn't helping me financially with college. So it was kind of hard for me. So I worked and I went to school, and whatever I had left over, I paid out of my job, my money, my income. I paid for my college courses on a credit card, and I paid it off throughout the semester. And I paid for my car, and I paid for my cell phone. My mom paid for my car insurance, and she paid for my health insurance, and that's pretty much it. I lived with my mom. So everything else I saved. So tax returns saved, leftover income saved. So I ended up saving $15,000 by the time I was 22, 23 years old. So we found this apartment, and he actually had the opposite situation. He was about $30,000 in the hole in credit card debt. He was in a band in college, and his band was going to make it big, but he had to travel somewhere in order to present themselves. And long story short, he put everything on his credit card so that all his bandmates can go, because none of them could afford it, and he had all this debt. And he said, if we're gonna buy this house together, like this apartment, I can't, I need my credit to go up a little bit, so that means I have to pay down some of my debt. So naturally, it just became, this was a long time ago. We're talking 20 years ago, okay? 2003. Did I offer? Did I say, well, I have my savings? Or did he ask me, well, you think maybe you can spare some savings? I don't recall, but we're trying to figure it out as a couple. And it was like $6,000 just to pay off this card. Okay, well, that card has a balance, it's $2,000, and I can't quite, bring it down. Okay, I need to pay $3,000 for that one. Okay, long story short, I pretty much depleted all of my savings. But I'm thinking, well, I'm buying an apartment. It's going to be under his name and my name, and this is what we need to do, right? So I arrived one day to his parents' house, and the realtor is there on the kitchen counter. They're sitting down, him and his dad and the realtor, and they're signing documents. And I'm like, hey guys, hey, like, am I missing something? Am I supposed to be here? Like, am I supposed to sign something? Mind you, I'm 23 years old. I've never done this before. I'm pregnant. I've got like pregnancy brain. And they're like, no, it's okay. We got this. And like, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, and I called him. I'm like, can I talk to you for a second? Aren't I supposed to sign something? And he goes, no, it's okay. My dad and I are gonna buy this apartment. Excuse me, what? You and your dad are gonna buy this apartment. Did your dad put any money down? Yeah, of course he put some money down. I go, yeah, but I gave you all of my savings. Like, this is supposed to be an investment. Arlene, it's gonna be fine. This is our home. This is for our family, for our baby. You're gonna be fine. It's all gonna be okay. I was not stupid, but I was stupid. Like, I knew how money works, how deals work. This is a financial investment. I gave up my money and nothing is gonna be in my name. But yet, here's the emotional part of, oh, but we're gonna be a family, and it's gonna be for us. Well, it really wasn't for us. It was him and his dad's. And that was red flag number, I'm not gonna say number one, because there was some while we were dating, but this was a big one for me, okay? Because financial security is a very big thing for me. So living together, that was something in the back of my mind that was just very hard for me to let go. Already I felt like I lost some respect for him, because I feel like he just robbed me of my money. And he had no intention of looking out for my financial well-being. We had a fight, we had an argument, and I remember just feeling like, I just need peace. I need peace. I have a baby in this house. I can't stand you here. You're yelling at me. You're raising your voice. Please, why don't you just leave? Like, go. Like, go to your mom's house, go to your dad's house. Go, please, just leave for a few hours, cool, so we can cool off, so I can have some quiet. Like, just get out. And that's where it turned into, this is my house. Why don't you leave? Things were never the same after that. So fast forward, long story short, I'm going to skip through all of the toxic trauma and abusive shenanigans and crap that I've had to endure, because that seed was already planted in me that this guy does not give a rat's booty about me. And stupid me kept thinking that, yeah, he loves me, but I should have left a long time ago, but I was already with a baby on the way. And then in 2011, another one came. So I'm here trying to work on this family with this person who I feel, just doesn't have my best interest at heart, doesn't have our best interest at heart. Because when you love someone, hurting them hurts you. Like, if there's an us, if I do something to put you in harm's way, or to like jeopardize you in some way, I'm jeopardizing me too, because this is all for us. So if I'm not pulling my weight, or I'm slacking off, or I'm overspending, or I'm, gambling, and this is our life here, I'm not just hurting you, I'm hurting us. I'm not just hurting me if I'm like drinking or, getting drunk all the time, hanging out with friends and not putting in any effort into our relationship. I'm hurting us. You're hurting the relationship. So with that said, there was a lot of on and off. We broke up, got back together, broke up, got back together, because I needed peace and he wouldn't leave because it was his house. So I never felt like I belonged anywhere. Here I was, a mother of two, supposedly married, not legally, and I felt like, where do I belong? Like I'm a hobo. Like I felt like an incubator, especially considering his mom, how overly intrusive she was in the name of love, right? It's because I love you guys, or I love this baby, and I really love doing all these fun things and taking away every milestone, every memory, every opportunity that was supposed to be mine as a new mother's, buying the first Christmas outfit, picking out, you know, what the nursery theme was gonna be like. Everything. She just took it all. And if I protested or I tried talking to my partner about it, he would tell me that I should be grateful because, you know, we were getting help. And I'm like, I understand that we need help, but she also has to understand that there needs to be some boundaries because this is my experience. She already was a young mom to babies and experienced it. And like, she's taking too much away from me. And that was never really understood. So it happened and it kept happening and it went on for many, many years. Needless to say, there was a lot of problems in this relationship. And it got to a point where I finally moved out for good in January of 2019. I left and I had nowhere to go except for my mom's house. My mom had a bedroom, a spare bedroom, that belonged to my brother. My brother, may he rest in peace, passed away in 2016. She had the space, she was using it as an office, but it was way too big. So she moved things around and made room for me. And I moved my king bed and my TV unit and my TV and just like some of my clothes and my kids' clothes. And like stuffed some of that like IKEA kids play furniture into the closet. And me and my two daughters, at the time, they're 16 and 12 now. So that was 5 years ago. So they were what, 11 and 12? 7? Yeah, 7, 11. And we lived in that room for about a year. And I remember sitting there. It took me such a long time to find peace within myself. It took me a long time to stop hating men in general. Like I got to a place in my life where I felt like I hated men and I never wanted to be with a man ever again, and I never wanted to date ever again. And I remember realizing that this is not good, this is not healthy. And I would pray to God, please help me to stop hating men just because of this one experience. And I would pray to God, please, you know, while I am thankful that we have a roof over our head, please let me have my own home someday. And I was trying to manifest and saying out loud, I have a home, I have a home, I have a house of my own. I have everything that I wanted. I would journal and write it and say it out loud and look out the window and just look at the sky and the clouds and just verbalize as if it already existed. But I also prayed every morning, every evening, when I'm in bed, when I open my eyes. I gave thanks for everything, for being awake, for having healthy children, for having a job. And so it was always in my mind to propel forward, propel forward, propel forward, propel forward. It was never in my mind that I was a failure, that I lost everything. It was never a negativity of like, woe is me. Was I still licking my wounds and healing? Yes. Was I still, you know, sort of in a place of self-pity? Yes. I felt like, why did I deserve this? Well, this is what I chose, but I didn't know what I was choosing. But I just kept thinking forward, forward. What can I do to make my life better? Like now that this is no longer going to be what my life is, I have to now create my new life. And I was on housing apps like Zillow and Trulia and Redfin and all these like real estate apps every single day. And I had a job and I was saving some money and my credit was already, you know, my credit was never bad actually. It was always pretty good. But I needed a down payment and I needed to know that I could afford a monthly amount. And so houses were getting more and more and more expensive. I'm like, man, I wish I would have bought my own property back in 2003, 2004 would have been a lot better. Now we're in 2019 and like properties that were just around the corner from my mom's house that were before like 210,000 are now like in the 400,000s. I'm not gonna be able to afford that. So I kept looking and looking and looking, and I started realizing that the only place that I was gonna be able to afford was like 20 miles south of where I grew up, of where I lived, with my ex, of where I lived with my mom, of where my ex's mom lived, like all within like a 6 to 9 mile radius. We're looking at like 20 plus miles south. And I did not want to live in that area. Despite my sister living in that area, I just didn't feel it, I didn't know it. And it was really far for me to drive to drop off the kids with their dad, or if the kids forgot something or I needed something from him. It was a long distance, and from their school and from my job. But I kept looking and looking and looking, and nothing was coming up. Nothing was in my price range unless it was down there. And I just kept trying to like book appointments with a realtor, and I'm like, I should probably start working with a realtor as opposed to trying to find them on my own, because I would try to find something and then they would say it was already sold. So one evening I was laying in my bed. It was late, like 11 o'clock at night, and I found this really pretty townhouse in a really pretty like residential gated community. And it was so pristine and clean and neatly decorated and just beautiful on the inside. And it was relatively new. It was built in 2004. And I hit make appointment. I'd like to see this house. And you enter your phone number. Literally within 1 minute, the realtor texted me, "Hey, are you interested in seeing this house? I have an appointment. I have an opening that you can come see it tomorrow." I'm like, okay. No one had ever responded to me this quickly. I was like, yeah, of course, absolutely, I'll take it. And so I called my sister, because my sister works in real estate, and she said, oh my God, I know that realtor. I know that area. Obviously it's close to where she lives. And she's like, she gave them a call, and she knew everybody. She knew the title company people, she knew the realtor, she knew everyone. And it was just so serendipitous. And I go there and I walk around and I look at the place, and I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, is this my house? Is this my home? And I didn't want to get my hopes up. You know, I always hope for the best but prepare for the worst, right? This is how I avoid such dramatic emotional, you know, disappointments and letdowns or sadness. You know, I'm like, it may not happen, so, you know, just don't get too attached. And the guy's like, do you want it? And I'm like, yeah, I want it, but like, how many people are looking for houses right now? Like, this market is insane. How do I know I'm gonna get it? He goes, all you gotta do is say the word. And he's just, I guess he spoke to his client, and it took like a matter of days. It wasn't not even a week before it's like, yeah, it's yours. You know, let's just get the paperwork started. And I was so excited, but again, I didn't want to celebrate until I signed the documents, and I was like, I had the key in my hand. And long story short, lo and behold, I had a townhouse. And I moved in, and I was so happy and excited, and I went through a whirlwind of emotions. I went through all kinds of anxiety, being alone, and panic attacks, and, you know, random dating, meeting guys from dating apps, and it was like a nightmare what was out there, feeling like I was never gonna find anyone, and I was gonna be alone for the rest of my life. And then I just decided, you know what, I'm not gonna stress it anymore. I don't care if I meet someone or not. It's just, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. You know, because I always thought you have to make an active, conscious effort, just like you do for your education, you do for your career, you do for finding a house. If you don't make an active, conscious effort, it'll just never happen. But I feel like I had been making such an effort for so long, and it was not happening. And I was so exhausted and depleted that I just felt, and I felt disappointed. I was no longer hating men. You know, I kind of got over that part. So every time I prayed for something, asked for something, wrote things down, tried to manifest things, it was a thought that was just permeating my mind. And those thoughts start becoming little actions. You start to think, how can I take action to make these things happen? And next thing you know, they're happening and they become real. So it's not some woo-woo fantasy, like magical, mystical thing. Manifestation is basically saying, hey, I want this. That's a thought. Let's look outside of my head in the real world and see what tools or what steps I can take in order to make that happen. Oh, I can do this and that. If you fail, try again. Try something different. And then boom, next thing you know, you got it. Like, it is literally everything. Everything was once a thought. Like, this hair clip was once a thought. This phone, this lens cover was once a thought. Everything was once an idea, and someone came up with it and someone made it real. So why can't I? It's all about believing in yourself and believing in the world and believing in the fact that sometimes the world doesn't conspire against you. Sometimes it conspires to help you. And I was already in that frame of mind where I felt like if there's something that I want to achieve, I know what I need to do in order to make it happen. And if I don't know the exact steps right now, I will figure it out. And that is the grit and the determination that developed out of all of the trauma that I had experienced. And sorry, I kicked the stand here. And being a mother was definitely the fuel behind that fire that propelled me, because I wanted to be an example for them. So I was living in this house and my mortgage was starting to go up because taxes were going up, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's starting to get a little bit difficult for me to afford these monthly payments. You know, I'm trying to ask for a raise at work and they didn't want to give me a raise. This was the job that I had previously, and I'm thinking maybe I should refinance. And then my mom calls me and tells me, oh my gosh, do you know what happened? What? The house across the street, remember the little couple that lived there? Well, this was around COVID time. Well, the lady passed away a few months ago, but now the little old man passed away. I think they're gonna sell that house. And my mom's like, maybe you can buy that house. And I'm like, Mom, what are you, crazy? Are you nuts? I can't afford your neighborhood. We already established this like back in 2019. This is like October of 2021. And she's like, you never know. Like, we'll talk to so-and-so. I don't want to say any names, you know, for privacy's sake, but their son was having an estate sale and a garage sale and had, you know, things outside. They were trying to, you know, get rid of all their parents' things. And my mom and my stepdad kind of know him and talk to him. And I went across the street. She's like, you should try to talk to him. You know, it is you who. I'm like, okay, fine. I don't see how it's possible, but okay. And I did look up previously the value of the house, what it would most likely sell for. So I spoke to the guy and I'm like, look, just tell me your number. Like, this is more or less the assessed value with comparables in your area. We don't have to work with a realtor if you don't want to. And I'm like, why on earth did I say that? Like, I'm not a realtor. I don't know how to fill out paperwork. He's like, well, yeah, that's fine. I have a real estate attorney who can do the paperwork. So that way you don't have to pay any realtors. Like, it was trying to make it enticing for him to not put the house on the market, because if he had put that house on the market, I'm sure an investor would have swooped right in with cash and just completely obliterated my offer. But I told him I'm a single mom, I have 2 daughters, and this house is right across the street from my mom and my grandmother and my stepdad. And like, I currently didn't have a man in my life, and I'm like, well, my stepdad is the one that helps when something's broken or I need something heavy to help me lift it, or, you know, my mom can help with the kids, and being close to my family would have been great. I was 20 miles away, and it worked. And the guy decided to, you know, go ahead and start the process of the paperwork once he had the title in his hands of having me purchase the house. And I'm here thinking, okay, let me do this math, okay? This is how much the house costs, this is how much the mortgage is gonna be. How am I gonna afford this mortgage though? Like, and I'm not dumb. I didn't make an offer until I figured out how I was gonna afford the mortgage. So the mortgage was going to be a little above my price range. As a matter of fact, before this happened, July of 2021, I actually got the job that I have now. And they offered me a lot more money than the job that I had before that didn't want to give me the raise. So these were the little blessings that were coming along, you know, as I kept trying to manifest them and praying for them to happen. So even though my mortgage was going up in the other house, I didn't want to be left with no disposable income whatsoever. So I was about to refinance, and then I found this house and I like canceled all the refinancing papers. I didn't sign anything because I'm like, now I'm gonna have to sell this house. So one thing that a lot of people in Miami here do is a type of house hacking that is called creating an efficiency in your house, which is very similar to having an in-laws quarter. So the house is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with a garage. And what my mom has, since it is right across the street, and this is not a gated community, but whoever was the developer created houses that had similar schemes. Like, some of them looked similar, but there's like 3 or 4 different types of styles and models. So my mom's is identical to mine's. It's a mirror image. And what she did was, and a lot of people do this, my ex-husband is doing it, my ex-mother-in-law is doing it, like literally like 9 out of 10 Miami homeowners do this because Miami is too unaffordable, okay? And it is actually legal. So instead of having a roommate who lives in your house and they use a room and you guys use the common areas, there's a room there's a bathroom and there's another room, and the other room towards the back had a sliding glass door that went towards the outside on the side of the house, which leads to the front, and there is a gate with a lock. So if that door can be turned into like a front opening door, like a French door with a key, someone can like come in through the side and enter through that side, and all I would have to do is put up a wall in my hallway, essentially. Now granted, they can't just have 2 rooms and a bathroom. Where are they going to like prepare meals? So in that entryway room, the closet doors were removed and a small kitchenette was created out of the plumbing from the bathroom that was right behind. We put a sink, and there's a microwave and a little hot plate, and you know, cabinets, and they have a refrigerator connected to the wall. Any power outlet connects the refrigerator, and it has become a little apartment. And I knew in my mind that, okay, if I sell my townhouse, all of the proceeds, all of the profit that I'm going to make is going to have to go 100% into this house, because in order for me to make that happen, that would have been my daughter's bedrooms. So I would be left with 1 room, 1 bathroom, the master, and a garage, which means I have to do a garage conversion. And I'm gonna need a permit for that, which I do have a permit as well for that. But there was gonna be a lot of work that had to be done in this house, and I had 1 year to do it all. Because when you purchase a house, they give you what the mortgage payment's gonna be using the taxes of what the previous owners paid, because the new tax assessment hasn't been done yet, because I bought the house in January. So at the end of the first year, the taxes were going to increase significantly, because it was going to now be what it was worth today, plus the shortage of what I didn't pay the year prior. So that 1 year, I had the ability to afford my mortgage despite not having a rental income, while I did everything I had to do. I had to do it quickly. So I hired a contractor, I interviewed a few of them, I had to buy materials and put it on credit cards, and I, you know, painted, took off popcorn from the ceiling, put new flooring, because if I'm gonna build up a wall, I may as well like have everything like done new, right? And that way I never have to do anything to this house ever again. This house is staying like this until the day that I die, or until the day that I am taken out of this house for whatever reason, because I don't want to ever move. I never want to move again. I've moved so many times in my life. That's part of my story of all the back and forth with my ex, and I'm never ever moving again. But anyway, I digress. So months and months and months of living in construction, dust everywhere, dirt everywhere. And if you have ever had construction in your house, you know how contractors are. They were bags of chips and corn nuts and bottles of Coke and water, and just one guy left a grocery bag with chicken bones in it on my back terrace, and it got full of maggots because my back terrace was filled with boxes and furniture and things, and I couldn't see this bag until I like just stumbled across it. And it was just such a chaotic mess to be living in that mess. And so I got through it. Slowly but surely things were getting done. The garage was converted into a bedroom. I had to add an AC duct because the contractor didn't want to do that. That wasn't his job. And I had a bathroom created, but now I needed somewhere to put my laundry because my laundry was in the garage. So I put it outside in the back terrace. And I created like this little like cover with doors, and then my machines are hidden in there. So it's like a nice solid concrete with like wood on top, and then it has tile on top, and it's got doors so it's protected from the elements. So I had everything planned out, and the efficiency was about to be ready to rent out, and it was around October or November. So my mortgage was about to increase. I didn't know yet by how much, but I said I have to get this place rented out like right away. And so I put a listing on Facebook Marketplace like my mom had suggested, and I had so many people contact me. I'm like, Mom, I can't handle this. This is so many people. She's like, that's okay. Like, I'll help you out, whatever. And I just went one at a time. Like, I'm like, do you have a crying, screaming baby? Sorry, no, because I need to sleep at night. I am a very light sleeper. I tried to not have like a couple. I didn't want to hear couples fighting or doing something else, you know. My girls were all the way across on the other side of the house where the garage was, so I wasn't too concerned about them hearing that, but my bedroom is very close to where their kitchen / main living area was going to be. So I couldn't have a family living there or like an elderly person who might, you know, fall and need help someday, and then like heaven forbid something happens to them. It was just I'm thinking, okay, a single person, like a student or a young person who has a full-time job, not like a family of four or somebody with babies and kids. And so I found this pretty much like the first girl that I interviewed. She was a wonderful, sweet girl. She was 27 and she's what did she do for a living? I forgot. A social worker for an elementary school. And she was great. And she moved right in and she was super happy to be there. And I started collecting rental income and then took a deep breath. My mortgage increased and now there was no disposable income, zero, but at least that rental income was helping me to live here. So without that rental income, I cannot afford to live here. Is that risky and dangerous? Yes. However, if she leaves, I can always put someone else. And that is exactly what happened. 7 months into it, she got another job living that was up more north in another county and she had to leave. I put it right up on Marketplace and boom, interviewed the first couple. This time I did take in a young couple. They both work very hard. They both studying at night. Like they're almost hardly ever home. They're very quiet, very sweet young couple. And they're living there now. So now that the new year is coming, my mortgage is coming back down because that shortage of the taxes is actually already been met. So now it's what I'm actually supposed to pay. It's not down by a whole lot, but just enough to be helpful for me to like have some wiggle room to breathe in. So that is what has brought me here. Like here I am. And right before all of this happened, December of 2022, was it December? No, December of 2021. 2021, because I bought this house January of 2022 and now it's going to be January of 2024. It's going to be 2 years since I've been living here. I put all hurricane impact windows. These are all things that I'm still financing. I'm still paying off credit card debt. I'm still paying off the windows, which is zero interest, by the way. All those things are zero interest. The roof needed to be changed and repaired. That is not a zero interest, but when I pay off all those other things, then that will be paid off as well. But everything is simultaneously being paid off at the same time. It's just gonna take some time. But when I had just about given up, I was like, I'm not gonna go out on any more dates. Like these stupid dating apps are filled with nothing but creeps and psychos and I just don't wanna do this anymore. There was one last guy that was like, okay, do you want to meet? Okay, cool, we'll meet like around the corner. I was still living in my old townhouse. My house was filled with boxes. I was literally about to move out maybe like 3 weeks from that time or 2 weeks from that time. And I said, God, if this one doesn't pan out, if nothing happens, I'm not doing this for a long time. Like I just don't want to even do it anymore. I don't have the energy. I give up. And we went out on a date and we had such a good time and we had so much fun and we hit it off and we've been dating ever since. And so yeah, it's gonna be 2 years. Or rather, yeah, it's gonna be 2 years. I think tomorrow actually, the 28th was like our first date. So we're not at that serious place yet of like living together or like anything like that. I'm not ready for that yet. He's not ready for that yet. And we don't know. You don't know what the future will bring. We don't know if that will ever happen or not. Do I feel like I'm wasting my time? No. This is some of the things that I talked about in my last video. I don't feel like my whole world is centered around a man. And women need to decenter men from their whole existence. Like some women will tell me, well, if you don't know where it's going, then like you're just wasting your time. Says who? I'm not wasting my time. I'm enjoying my time with him because my time with him isn't being used to take me down a path that's going to dictate what my life is going to look like. My life already is what I wanted it to be. It already looks like what I wanted it to look like. I have stability, I have a career, I have a home, I have 2 daughters. I love to travel. Is it difficult because it's expensive? Yes. Having a boyfriend who can help and pitch in makes it easier, you know? So we both got to enjoy like a nice trip recently. Nothing fancy or elegant. It was just a trip up to like the Smoky Mountains, but it was still a lovely time. We go out, we have a great time. He's a gentleman, and so he pays when we go out on dates. But you know, he has his life and he has his things that he needs to be there for and handle and deal with right now, and I am doing just fine. So I don't feel like it's time wasted. And sometimes you think that the goal is like, oh, but are you ever gonna live together? Are you gonna get married? That's making your happiness destination based as opposed to journey based. This is just the journey of my life that I'm on. And if we don't end up together for whatever reason, then we don't. But like a lot of times you'll see couples who have been together for 10 years, super happy, and then they get married and 1 year later they get divorced. It's like, well, go figure that, right? Like when you make these big changes, you have to make sure that you're seamlessly and smoothly transitioning into those changes, because there's going to be bumps in the road. When someone spends time in your house, they eat here, they shower here, they sleep here, and there's habits and there's patterns that may not mesh well together, and then there's going to be differences, and you have to talk about these differences, and you have to like kind of decide, is this something I'm okay with? Is this something that I'm willing to accept? Or if there's something about you that perhaps is bothersome to the other person, is this something that they're going to be okay with? Is this something that they're going to be able to accept? And if there is a confrontation there, you know, where can we kind of like balance each other out, or like meet halfway, or maybe compromise a bit? Like, okay, if you don't like me, you know, vaping, I'll try vaping outside. Or if you don't like the fact that, you know, we're watching a show and I get up to like clean something because I have this compulsive need to clean, then I will try to be more conscious to set that aside for another time, as long as you promise to help me then, so that I'm not like stuck late at night doing it, because otherwise I would get up and do it right now so that I can like relax later. So if you can talk through things and you can kind of like communicate and without turning into a fight, or if you do argue, if you can recuperate from those arguments quickly, that's to me a good relationship. And you cannot buy, there's no amount of money that any man can have to purchase himself a good heart, or to purchase himself, you know, a good moral compass, or even a good personality, or someone that you can like talk to and get along with. Is there anybody perfect? No. Am I perfect? No. Is he perfect? No. But this is why I'm in no rush, because there is something good there. Are there little knots and kinks to work through? Yes, absolutely. But it's nothing that is affecting our dynamic. It's things that will possibly be a problem should we ever cohabitate or have something more seriously intertwined. Emotionally, there is a serious intertwining there, at least from my perspective. Do I have fears of somebody cheating on me? Or, you know, not really, because if they cheat on me, they're not for me. I don't want them. Like, I will immediately like lose interest, get out of my life. I don't want you. You wanted her, even if it was for a brief second, I don't want you in my life anymore. So my confidence level has gotten to that point where I don't have that fear, and I feel like there's some sort of God that is on my level, that is on my team, that we are on like an eye-to-eye kind of like thing, where I know he's gonna look out for me, and I know that if somebody's doing me wrong, it will come to light and I will find out about it. And if they have any concerns about me or anything that I'm doing, I'm an open book. I am as clear as day. You know, I will tell you exactly how I feel, exactly where I stand, who this person is, if this person is a friend or someone I just chat with. But I am really a one person kind of person. Like, I had one best friend most of my life. Like, I feel like having a lot of friends was like cheating on my one best friend. Like, it's very hard for me to build connections. So once I have one good solid connection, just because I have other people that I may have conversations with doesn't mean that I am building that sort of solid connection with them, because it's not easy for me to do that. And if I'm doing that knowing that I have that with someone else, I wouldn't be able to stomach it, because it's just not me. So I'm going to stop this video here. It is almost 44 minutes and it is way too long. I hope you guys watch it. If you made it till the end of this video, you're a champ, because I do tell some long stories. But if you like my stories and you feel like you want to see more, I will try to make them shorter. I'm sorry, but please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you're notified every time I am posting. Hit the like button, and if you know someone who can benefit from this video as well, please by all means share with them, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.